Hello and welcome to Warped Miniatures. Today on the channel we'll be doing a competitive log specifically for 40k, and specifically to that it will be another Ultramarines chapter list analysis. So if you have been watching before in the previous two videos, this will build upon that and keep with that same theme, ethos, story, whatever you want to call it. But if you want to learn from those a little bit more, watch those videos. But if you are a newcomer, there's going to be enough general information in this analysis here and specifics as well for you to sink your teeth into. And if you want to, you can build upon that and watch videos after. But either way, let's get into it and get started. Okay, now before getting into the nitty-gritty details of this list, I would like to mention something very quickly, and that is that I apologize for the wait in between this video and the last. I planned on doing a lot more content in between the two, but I just got caught up with a lot of different things here and there. And on top of that, I kept implementing new units to test out and try, and kept changing the list. So it took me a while to finally settle on some units here, especially these Thunder Strikes here, but really excited to get into the details of it. And if you're looking for content in between these videos, I do have my Instagram account at Warped Miniatures, which has great action shots from a lot of the local players here in Cleveland and the surrounding Northeast Ohio area. So if you want to, you can chew into that. I'll put a link down in the description. And let's move forward and go over what happened at these tournaments up here in Cleveland. Okay, so let's get into some details on how the last list performed from the previous video. It went to two tournaments in between then and now, and both tournaments were held at Recess Games. Love the place, great environment, very competitive, great TOs, very fair. The experiences were both great. Once I went 1-2, and the second time I went 2-1. The 2-1 time I actually ended up, which was the last time I went there, I ended up going third place and lost at the very final table against the first place winner of the tournament. First time getting to the final table was a great experience, a lot of fun, but definitely needed to still learn and improve the list, and that's why we're here. So let's get into some details on what we're actually going to change. Okay, so going into the first tournament where I went 1-2, I want to go into some things that really aren't about the actual list, but myself and how I could have improved it. First and foremost, these dice right here, they had to go. In that first tournament where I went 1-2, I faced a Iron Hands army with an Atreus battle tank. I rolled 6 shots from my macro plasma incinerator on one of my Redemptors. And out of those 6 shots, I rolled 6 ones. Shit you not. And then I rolled, because I had to reroll 1 aura always near them with the captain, that guy right there. I rerolled all the ones into 5 ones. So 6 dice, all rolled ones, rolled 5 ones out of those rerolls. I told myself that I have to get rid of these rounded, small type, cheap dice that you buy at your local stores, just those bins that they have, and get ones that are a little bit more sturdy. So these ones here are casino dice. They are balanced. They have pips on them, so these things don't actually indent, creating different weights on the different sides of them. They're serialized, so they have a tracking, let's say, paper trail to them with a company that it's actually official. It's not just some random no-name company making them. And not only that, but they have hardened edges here. So with these edges here, these don't get worn down over time as easily as a dice like this, where you have a bunch of rounded edges. This over time is just going to wear down a lot quicker than this was. And this type of dice wasn't even that bad for me for a long time, but at some point it was just insane what it was rolling for me. I never believed into dice actually being bad. I thought they were all the same no matter what, but since then I've had very consistent dice rolls with these guys. And it's nice just having that in a tournament where I can actually show you a receipt with this UPS number at the back, 3 numbers of it, to prove that these are from a legitimate company. And they were only 15 bucks for 5. I wanted to get nice metal gravity dice, but those are like 25 to 30 bucks per dice. So, but that's one thing I want to get into. Another is these guys. So with this, you get a little bit more of a quickness, a tempo, and a little bit more of like a wow factor when you're using some of your stratagems. Keeps you in line of what you want to do. So if I have certain spell stratagems I want to use, I can have them on hand and ready. And while my other opponent's taking his turn, I can kind of look at them and go over keywords, etc. So I wish I would have had this, and I wish I would have had these at that first tournament. I think it would have helped me a little bit. Not won me anything, but it definitely would have helped. Okay, a couple more items that we're going to be bringing to the next tournament, and tools in our tool belt to use to keep us in line on tempo, etc. The one's going to be a shot clock. Now this is going to be just for me predominantly to keep myself in line with my given hour-and-a-half time limit, which typically that's what you're going to get at most tournaments is an hour-and-a-half per player. But I mean, if my other player wants to use it, they're more than welcome to, but this is just going to be for me to keep myself in line. It's another one of those things to help with tempo as well. And this guy right here. Now this is going to be a lot more helpful than first thought. It's just going to be a nice felt, larger tray because I do have these bigger dice now that I'm going to need a little bit more space to roll my dice. But mainly because I won't be having to re-roll dice that are cocked as much. My previous tray had those angled edges. It wasn't straight up and down like this one is in the back. And because you have these straight up and down edges, the dice aren't going to be laying against the side where you're going to have to ask your opponent if you should re-roll that or not, or they're going to tell you to put a dice on top, let it slide. I always err it whenever I see that happen. If they're angled, I'll just re-roll it regardless. So that way, if it is in my favor, it doesn't matter. And if it isn't in my favor, the opponent's not going to say anything. Well, if I get this tray, I don't have to do that as often because it's going to have less chance of it being cocked on the side. So it's just a weird way of giving yourself a little bit more of less variance, I should say, in your gameplay style, and a good way to like pound out actual strategy and not have to look back and be like, well, I had to re-roll a bunch of those stupid dice and I'm not even sure if that tactic was good or bad because I had such a weird dice roll between, you know, literally in 12 dice rolled, 11 of them are ones with this mother effer, or a bunch of cock dice with this one. It's just a little couple things that add up that can help you with your gameplay. Okay, so we need to go into some actual details of the gameplay and strategy and tactics of the list now. And some big things that I noticed, broad stroke wise, from the tournaments, what worked and didn't work, was the secondary and primary objective scoring and how we geared our list towards that. So obviously I went bottom tier of the tournament when I went to the first one, and then I finished top 3 in the second one. So something changed vastly between those two tournaments. And for me, the biggest single difference between the list difference in those two was the way I approached the secondaries. I wanted to be a lot more flexible and not just hone in on 2 or 3 secondaries that I wanted. Yes, I still have 2 or 3 big ones in mind, but I have a lot more options now on how I want to operate and change units. So we will have a little bit of a difference from then until now, in the sense that there's going to be a brand new GT book out with new wording for some of these secondaries, but how we operate our list is essentially going to be the same. Okay, so going into some actual changes that we did make with the list, first off, let's go with the Hellblaster. The Hellblaster is one of my personal favorite units of the list. Very sad to see him go overall. This is the first variation that we used in that 1 and 2 tournament. Rapid fire variant for this one, still amazing, but you had to keep him mobile. And typically that's not how I use my Hellblasters. So he had to go when I could actually afford a heavy variant. I ran the heavy variant in the second tournament. He performed amazingly, and you'd be surprised why I took him out. For the main reason, spoiler alert, we went Successor Chapter for the second tournament. So the Successor Chapter leans into the vehicle aspect, and there's just a better variation for this role that we have here. So this is our heavy fire support, and the biggest thing that we liked out of the heavy version compared to the rapid fire is that it allowed me to get turn 1 fire off more efficiently. Yes, it was more damage, but I would have been happy with a strength 8 -4 2 damage shot. But the biggest thing for me is that it had 6 inches of extra range, allowing me to put these guys in cover or obscured, and then move them out of obscuring or light cover and hit something if I needed to, or just get more choices to choose from turn 1. But there's a better choice than even this guy. And that is the Thunderstrike Storm Speeder. Now I had this guy in the tournament before the points drop, so it's only gotten better since then. 15 points cheaper to be exact. It has a 2 D3 Icarus rocket pods on top. It has 2 Storm Strike missiles, which are strength 10, -3 AP, D6 damage. And then it has 2 las cannon shots, which are strength 9, -3 AP, D6 damage. And the biggest thing about this guy is it hits on 2s. So it's outputting 3 shots of D6 damage with hitting on 2s. And the Successor Chapter traits that I chose were Master Artisan and Scions of the Forge, which are both vehicle, and especially non-core vehicles like the Storm Speeder, allow them to increase their efficiency, especially in damage output. let alone in durability with that Scion of the Forge. So I can reroll 1 hit per shooting phase, per fighting phase, per unit, per turn. So this guy can actually get one of his 3 big shots, rerolling a 2, rerolling a 1 for one of those shots, which typically isn't going to happen, but if it does, you're kind of guaranteeing 3 big shots to happen every single time with this guy at a 48-inch range. And that's a pretty big deal. With that 48-inch range and a 16-inch movement, you heard me right, 16 inches, those suckers have the fly keyword and can cook. You can put them behind obscured cover, even though they're kind of big. It's a little hard, but with that 16-inch movement, you can just keep them out of range from most of your opponent's shots. You don't even have to worry about them being obscured. So they effectively don't also, with that successor chapter tactic, they don't need any support characters as well, which these Hellblasters needed almost every single time. So overall, that's just going to be a better choice for our list and why we took these Hellblasters out. Okay, so we still have a ton to get into with this list, and I barely scratched the surface, and I thought I was going to be able to do it all in one sitting, but the recording session has to end, and I don't want to lose all this footage, so we're actually going to cut this up into a part 2 and even possibly a part 3 type video. A lot more information to come. We're going to finish up talking about the units that we took out, why we did it. We're going to talk about specifically about the units, the data sheets of the units that we put in, why we did it, and the weapon loadouts for some of them, like the Storm Talon. You can pick different types of weapon loadouts. We're also going to go into the stratagems that we're going to plan to use the most for our list going forward, as well as strategies and how to score those primaries, secondaries, the whole synergy with everything, how it's all going to work together, and also some pitfalls and lists designed to take out high armor lists like we have here, and how ways to watch out for that and kind of supersede that problem. But good video here today. Excited for everybody that came out. Any newcomers, please follow. Any regulars, please keep an eye out for the next couple of videos. They will be out much sooner than the last one, but please leave some comments, get some theory crafting in the comment section. I love to talk about Warhammer all day long, but thanks for stopping out, and we'll catch you next time.